Good afternoon, class.
Afternoon.
So today, to start, what we're going to do, who here has a pet? If I raise their hands. Has owned a pet or who has wanted a pet? Okay. So what I want you to do now is to pull out your smartphones. If you have a picture of them, pull that up real quick, or if not, you can just Google image one. Like if you own a Chihuahua, just Google image Chihuahua. And then once you have it, just place your phone down on the table so I know that you're ready.
Oh my gosh, such a cute picture.
And it doesn't have to be like the perfect picture. Hopefully with the internet being down, it's still pretty easy to find one.
You can share one with
I think mine will eat yours.
Right. Well, there's still.
Just saying. Sorry.
Are you close?
Yeah, let's just say yes.
Okay, well, we'll come to you last. Now, first, I want you to stand up and say what your pet is, what the name is, and how, like, what it means. Is it family to you? Do you guys view it as like another family member, or if you don't really care about your pet at all? So,
Okay.
if you can start.
This is my dog, Dodson. He's a dog.
What type?
Like a Maltese poodle.
Spoodle?
Yeah, he's really cute. My family doesn't like him though, because he's really naughty. So they hate him actually.
Do you love him though?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I love him more than I don't live with him.
This is my dog, Pika. She's a mix schnauzer.
Loves new
And-
dogs.
She's not quite a member of the family as me being a person, but they're all pretty much love it.
Yeah.
She's so nice.
This is not my dog, but it's the same kind of dog as my dog. And when I knew him, he wasn't a puppy, but I thought this puppy was cute. So his name was Jake, and he was a yellow lab. And I was never that close with him, but whenever I was sad, he knew I was sad, and he would come over and like snuggle by me. And when he died was the only time I've ever seen my stepdad cry.
Oh.
And I can't wait to see what we got over here. Something that would eat that.
Well, I couldn't find a picture of because I have a dog. His name is Tiger. There's a pit bull, but I can't remember. Sorry. Just when I shared this picture, then it's a kangaroo.
Okay.
When I was in Australia, I wanted to chase them and eat them, but
Is it
it was
alive?
forbidden. Yeah, it's alive. I was in the zoo.
I hate kangaroos.
Really?
They
I
scare me.
love them. Yeah, and it's fun, but and it's for sale.
I'm on my third dog right now. Been through a couple cats, and I love my animals. They're awesome. Unlike your stepdad, I cry when they pass away. But I wanted to show this video now. Okay. Hold on.
Is it the
Let's
ad?
start
You
over.
might need to turn
Let's start over one more time. That's good. Okay. So, after that video, what do you guys think we're going to be talking about today?
smoking.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were talking about that.
Well, that's actually a big part of it too. We're going to be talking about how smoking doesn't just impact, the user. It has a far-reaching impact on other people as well. So the lesson outcomes or objectives, I don't know if you guys can read that, so I'll just read it. Students will be able to correctly name 3 people, places, or things that are negatively impacted by smoking cigarettes, and students will be able to accurately describe 3 short-term and 3 long-term effects of smoking cigarettes. I said animals like families. I guess best friends would have been better since the video said best friends in there. But as you can tell, a lot of people have strong emotions, strong ties with their pets and with their animals. And even when I was growing up and going through school, I remember the DARE program, and I remember learning about secondhand smoke, but it was always with children. I never really remember them talking about pets at all. So I just thought that was an interesting video that kind of put a new, really made me think more of the impact that smoking really does have. So the title, The Far Reaches of Smoking. There you go. So the question there is, smoking only impacts myself, right?
No.
Right, wrong. So I know you guys have taken, you guys are middle schoolers, so you've had very basic concept of smoking. So what do you remember about smoking? Do you guys remember who else it can affect? We talked about dogs and animals, but what else? Who else does it harm? Yeah, family, definitely. And family's the biggest one for children. They're the ones that are most impacted by secondhand smoke. Do you all remember the term secondhand smoke?
What about e-cigarettes? Doesn't that take away all of this problem about?
E-cigarettes? E-cigarettes? I didn't do a lot of research on e-cigarettes. I can get back to you. No, that's good. That's perfect that you're asking questions, especially questions that I don't know the answer to, because that means I can go back and do more researching on my own. So I will get back to you on that. Yeah. But like I was saying, it impacts children the most. Do you remember, you said you knew what secondhand smoking was? Do you want to give a quick definition of what it was? Secondhand smoking?
I can explain it.
Okay, we'll go over here. I'll come back to you
Oh, really?
later. Okay. I thought I saw your hand raised. Sorry.
Sorry.
Secondhand smoking is like when other people around you are breathing in the same smoke that you're smoking, I guess. So they're kind of getting the harm that you get from it.
Yeah, it's involuntary, They don't want to smoke it, but they're around it. So it's actually responsible for 41,000 deaths a year, are from people that don't even want that in their system. And it's very, like I said, it's found very often in children, because adults, the parents, they smoke in the house or they smoke in the car, and they're not really thinking about how that's impacting the rest of their family. And it can actually cause 9 different types of cancer. Research has found now, with the main cancer being lung cancer. And children who experience secondhand smoking, they actually have to deal with more ear infections, lung infections. They're sick more often, and they're more likely to have respiratory problems like coughing and wheezing, trouble sleeping. So we know that there's all this information for it, and that's why the government, actually I remember I used to go out to eat dinner and there'd be smoking sections and non-smoking sections, even at like Village Inn. And sometimes the smoking section, like you could still smell it in the non-smoking section. It wasn't the best way, I guess they had good intentions behind it. Or a bowling alley, you used to be able to smoke there too. But the government has gotten behind this research, and they're doing what little they can, but they have decided in many places, public areas, you cannot smoke. So that's good that they're taking the next step. So those are some other things that smoking has impacted. And I'm just curious, has anyone had any relatives or any friends of parents that smoked? Yeah. Have you had any experiences with secondhand smoking, maybe being over at a house and notice anything?
Oh, well, they don't smoke when my family's here, so they will just walk away.
All right, that's awesome. So they don't smoke around you.
No.
That's good. So they're well educated. So and they respect your family. That's good. Has anyone else had any experiences?
I was thinking about my uncle. He used to smoke, and he would also walk away, but you could still like smell it on him after he walked back into the house. And it was also a bummer. Like it was like, I want to hang out with you, Uncle Joe. Why are you out there smoking? You know?
Yeah. Definitely. All right. Well, that's perfect. Thank you. Because we're also going to be talking about that a little later. You know, short-term effects that a lot of people say, well, you know, just one cigarette won't hurt. And that's a lie, you know, that's a trap. A lot of people in the industry call it a trap, like the tobacco industry tries to get people in these traps, and that's one of them. But aside from hurting, you know, animals and people, it also hurts the environment and others. So I actually want to hand this out before we get started. And it's pretty self-explanatory. It has other things affected by smoking. We've already covered a couple. And then short-term effects and long-term effects. And as I go on, as you pay attention, you'll be able to fill out just short lists, things that stick out to you. And if you have any ideas that we don't cover, because there's many ideas and we'll have an opportunity to talk about them, then you can write those down as well. But the environment. So if you had to guess a number, how many, you know, we all walk around and we see cigarette butts on the floor. How many do you think around the whole world, how many accumulate in a year? If everyone could just come up with one guess real quick, first number.
41,000.
41,000.
10 million.
I'm saying a billion, 2 billion.
6 billion.
You got it's 4.3 trillion cigarettes
How do they know?
are littered each year. From
They count.
How much
People-
is-
yeah, like cigarette packs a day, how many people smoke a pack a day, and then like how many get thrown away in like the specialized cigarette butts are the hardest thing to dispose of. And it's actually responsible for 50% of litter in America. Just because so many people when they're just walking, they just flick it. They've done studies, I don't know exactly how, but that's what I read about. They just did these studies.
One thing that I read about that, like how they know, is what they do is they like, since it's so hard to get rid of, they put them all together and they have like they weigh it and then they divide that number by how much each one weighs. So it's probably not exact, but it's like a
Yeah.
good guesstimation.
And those are made of plastic, so it can take up to 25 or 26 years for those to decompose. And what happens with the litter that's on the ground if it doesn't get picked up?
Goes in the ocean.
Right, it goes in the ocean. And cigarettes, you know, they have over 4,000 chemicals and toxins in them, and they're in the butt of the cigarette as well, in the filter. So when those go in the water, when they go in the ground, they corrupt the soil and they kill wildlife. And many fish and birds eat the cigarette butts because they don't know any better. They're seeing something, they're trying to survive, they give it a shot, and then it winds up killing them. Like we talked about, animals are twice as likely to get cancer if their owners smoke. And along with the animals eating filters, little children have been hospitalized, and I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it was like in the 4,000s yearly. Children go to the hospital because they've swallowed a cigarette butt or some sort of tobacco run-in, and a few of them have been fatal over the years as well. So it's crucial that we find better ways of disposing these, because 4.3 trillion littered, like, I can't even fathom 4.3 trillion. And then, so that's the effects on the environment. Oh, I'm sorry, the most basic thing that it does as well is air pollution. It releases carbon dioxide and methane into the atmosphere, which is also destroying the environment. And these tobacco companies, with all those cigarettes, they need paper to roll it in as well. So they mow down tons of trees, you know, deforestation occurs so that they can have more for these. So it really is destroying the environment as well as the user. Now we're going to go to some short-term effects of smoking. And it sounds like you guys kind of have a little grasp on that already. What were some of the things that you said about your Uncle Joe, was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. What did you notice about him after he smoked
He
cigarettes?
smelled bad, and I was sad when he was smoking instead of hanging out with us.
Yeah. It took away time from you, your niece, you know, you wanted to hang out with him. Can anyone, so we know he smells bad. With what we know about smoking, how it smells bad, can anyone else think of other ideas that might happen immediately when you're smoking cigarettes with bad breath?
Your gum becomes really dark.
Yeah, a lot of dental problems.
I
Yeah.
would say just being around it makes me cough, so I think a lot of people have respiratory things that happen when.
Yeah, and that's again ties back into the secondary hand smoke, you know, coughing, having those respiratory problems. But it's actually, you can have bad taste in your mouth for your Uncle Joe, like he has that, what you can smell, he has it in his mouth. And it takes away from, it dulls your sense of taste and smell. Smelly clothes like you talked about. People, it gets in their hair, and it gets caught up in the hair so you can smell it in their hair as well. Like you said, you'd go away, you'd have no idea he was smoking, but when he came back, you'd be able to smell it on him. So it's kind of hard to hide, to mask smoking a cigarette. And you touched on the dental hygiene. You know, you get yellow and brown stains on your teeth as well.
And you lose a lot of money spending it on
Yeah, it's so expensive.
Yeah, we're going to cover that a little bit more later on.
People still buy it.
And then smoking, it's an addiction, you know, that's another thing. These companies, they get you hooked on it so that you continue to buy it. And does your Uncle Joe, does he like smoking? Have you ever heard him say he needs to stop?
He did stop for a little while, and then he was always cranky, so he started again.
Okay. So that's a pretty big, you know, a lot of people that smoke don't want to do it. They're like, man, I need to quit smoking. You know, companies that promote stopping smoking, they make millions of dollars because it's an addiction. People don't want to do it, but they kind of, they're hooked on it and they can't stop. So we covered some of the short-term effects. Now we're going to go to the long-term effects. So this is after people have been smoking for an extended period of time. You know, those short terms happen, like even after 1 use, you'll start to notice differences and smell differences. So this, I like this picture a lot, just because it shows, I think that shows so well what it does to the inside of your body. Does everyone know what this is a picture of?
Lungs.
Yes, it's lungs made out of cigarettes. And that's essentially what you're doing. Every time you smoke one cigarette, they say it takes 7 minutes off of your life. So if you smoke like 3 cigarettes, that's a SpongeBob episode right there that you don't get to watch. But, if you think about it like that, I mean, you're missing out on a lot of SpongeBob. But one of the main things about this is death. Smoking will kill you. And cancer is a huge part of it. We talked about it with the animals, how they're twice as likely. With humans, with every cigarette you smoke, it's just increasing the probability of it happening. So that leads to death. You have heart disease, cancer. People even have reproductive problems, issues, yeah. There can be birth defects if the mother's smoking. So, I mean, out of what we've covered already, there's been, can anyone find any good in smoking cigarettes in what we've covered so far? No? What?
Money.
Money? Yeah, big corporations making money. So this last slide, I need to wrap it up here, but this last slide, you talked about money. And that's the negative of one huge negative effect of smoking. And there's a lot of different numbers out there. Some people say 35,000 on cigarettes alone. Other people, if you add in medical costs, it adds up on average. It said it's about $10,000 a year if you include like everything else that comes with it. So $10,000 a year over 10 years, that's $100,000 that people are spending, pretty much throwing away. And there are a lot of interesting facts, like smokers are 8% less productive than people that don't smoke. You're not as physically fit, you run out of breath quicker, you're not as athletic as you were before you started smoking. And was it the other thing? On average, smokers are sick 3 days out of the year more than normal people, just because of all those health issues that we talked about. So, does anyone, we went over those short-term, long-term, and other side effects. Has anyone, while you were writing these or thinking, can you think of anything else that we haven't covered that might be an issue as well?
Some people have to get those tricky somethings.
Yeah. With throat cancer, you sound like a robot for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
And it's not a pretty image to be walking around with a hole in your throat. Yeah. All right, so for this last part, real quick, I just want you guys to write down one short-term effect, one long-term effect, and one other thing, person that's affected by smoking as well. And once you do that, roll it up, kind of like it's a cigarette, and throw it on the floor. Okay? Yeah, just roll it up and then throw it on the
You
floor.
used to.
Hope not.
Used to.
Actually, we can just put them in the middle of the table and then just pick up one. That isn't.
Oh, you don't
Yeah,
want
roll it.
Oh, roll it up, yeah. Roll it up and then just put it in the middle of the table.
That way we're not littering them.
Yeah. Alright, pick up one that isn't yours. So you're like, you're helping the environment, you're picking up the cigarette butts, there we go. And then if we could just go around quickly and just read one item on there.
Smells bad.
Smells bad, so what would that be? That would be
Short term.
short term, alright, and then we'll go over here to Jane.
It affects the people around you.
Just thinking about.
Uh,
Short. Yeah, that's good, thank you.
Oh, I
The
thought you
people
were
around
asking
you.
for the
No, that's
other
good.
people, okay.
Yeah, that was good, thank
Okay.
you.
This is addiction. That can be short-term and long-term.
Yeah,
Shorter life on earth.
awesome. Thank you. So, throw those out on your way out of class. As you can see, there are many, only bad things come from smoking. So I hope that with this knowledge, you'll remember it so that when the day comes that you have a decision to smoke or not to smoke, that you'll be able to make a well-educated and informed decision on what you want to do, which I hope it would be not to smoke. All right. Thank you.